You're listening to a 630 WPRO.com podcast brought to you by Atlantic Paper. Call 800-613-0950 or visit AtlanticPaper.com to find out how the Atlantic Advantage can make your life easier.
I want to welcome into the studio. He'd like to go to Washington and represent you. Good morning to Colonel Brendan Doherty. Good morning, Colonel.
Good morning. Thanks for having me here.
How's the campaign going?
Campaign's going great. I'm out every day and night, and we're working really hard. And I've been spending a lot of time in the senior high-rises and senior centers and just going to events throughout the 1st District to say hello to folks and get them to know me a little bit better rather than just the face of the tragedy in the face of storms as Colonel of the State Police. They see me as a regular person now.
You just heard the voice of Congressman Cicilline. We can't give the Republicans another vote. Boy, he's very partisan.
A little bit, a little partisan. He's very partisan. He voted for the progressive budget. He's far left of our grandfather and grandmother's Democratic Party. David is with the progressive movement. He's voted for the progressive budget that he couldn't even bring the rest of his colleagues in the Democratic Party in Washington to come to vote for that. So. Yeah, I had a press conference yesterday in Pawtucket. I'm very pleased with the way that turned out. Just wanted to continue to tell the seniors what my position is on Social Security and Medicare. I've been talking about it for 6 months throughout my visits with seniors, and to tell them that I will not vote to privatize either Social Security or Medicare. I really believe we can strengthen Social Security like we did in 1983 with President Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill, a Republican and Democrat, to bring it to where it is today. So we need to. I've embraced the Simpson-Bowles Commission. I actually had a great conversation with Senator Alan Simpson a couple of weeks ago, and I've embraced that the recommendations, which strengthens Social Security. Not only strengthens it, but gives the seniors a bump after 20 years. So. Someone who's about 85 years old actually gets another bump. And the Simpson-Bowles recommendations are, it's progressive.
If I'm an independent or, in Congressman Cicilline's world, God forbid, a Republican businessman in the 1st District, boy, I don't know if I'm picking up the phone to call him if I have a problem, if he has such a negative view of anyone that's not a liberal Democrat. Do you encounter any of that when you're campaigning?
Well,
the Republicans, is it really, he just has that approach of like, it's us against them. I'd like to think that we're going to get someone.
Yeah, it's too bad that he's taken that position, because he's called me He's trying to align me with a radical Republican agenda.
Well, you haven't even got there yet, though.
Yeah, and I really...
Why don't we wait till the game starts, right?
Anyone that knows me knows I'm not a radical in any respect.
You're walking into the game, you already got 3 fouls. Why don't we wait till...
Well, that's if he uses the referees from last night.
He joins us in the studio, Colonel Doherty. Boy, Colonel, I got to tell you, that's refreshing to hear in 2012. You mean to tell me that if someone has a good idea, you don't care if it's a Democrat or Republican, you're just going to do what's best for Rhode Island?
Yeah, well,
are you trying to imply that?
That's the problem in Washington. It's just the gridlock is obviously Republicans and Democrats. They couldn't agree that it's daylight out today. So right now, so we need people that are independent thinkers that can sit at the table and find common ground solutions to problems. And I'm friends with Senator Scott Brown in Massachusetts. He's been able to demonstrate that over and over again. So David Cicilline, the person I'm running against for Congress in the 1st District, has demonstrated over and over again that he cannot work with Republicans, and he's basically just trying to draw a picture that does Rhode Island want another Republican in Washington? Well, how about the fact that we, by all accounts, we know that the Republicans will keep the House. And would Rhode Island want someone who can actually be heard, or someone like Congressman Cicilline, who really, in all due respect to him, they don't even know who he is?
What do you hear from people as you're out campaign trail? Obviously, you've been campaigning for a while. You're very, very visible. But when you talk with people, Pawtucket, East Providence, North Providence, Woonsocket, what are some of the things that you hear from people of what they're dealing with, struggling with, or what do they want from their leaders?
Well, they want leadership, first of all, and leadership's not about ranks and privileges and titles. Leadership's about taking responsibility for what happens in your watch, and we didn't see that 2 years ago in the city of Providence. So we hear about the lack of leadership in Rhode Island, the lack of leadership in Washington, and that's what people want, just honesty and leadership. And you know, here in Rhode Island, we have we have the second highest unemployment rate in the country.
Yep.
That's shameful. We can do better than that. This is a beautiful state. We should be a model state, not 50 out of 50 as business friendly states. We want to be able to embrace the business community and bring them to Rhode Island. We have 93,000 small businesses here in Rhode Island. And wouldn't it be great if we could, grow that by 8,000 businesses, small businesses, in the next couple of years? So we have a lot to work on. Rome wasn't built in a day, but we need to work on our economy, and that's all I hear about is jobs. And when I sit down in restaurants or in coffee shops, and someone's mom will come over and say that my son went to school and he worked hard and he can't find a job. Those are the people that I really, really care about, and I want to help, because these are families trying to put food on the table, and they just don't have the opportunity. We need to be able to grow jobs through tax reform, regulatory reform, a robust energy policy, and something I talk a lot about is cutting the fraud and the waste in government that I think is just sickening. But there are other things we need. We need to close the skill sets gap here in Rhode Island. We hear about it. We talk about it. We hear. I've seen so many articles about it. The Providence Journal just had a great article the other day, an editorial about it. But we need action. We just don't need people who will talk about it. We need action, and I will have a plan for that.
At 9:39, in studio with us is Colonel Brendan Doherty. Again, he's running against Congressman Cicilline, 1st District, Election Day coming up in November. Colonel, right now, someone listening, a voter, East Providence or Pawtucket, and what would you be like? What type of congressman would Brendan Doherty be like in Washington? What could they expect as far as expectation level? Because so many people feel Washington's broken, people don't respond to me, they're out of touch. What type of congressman would Congressman Doherty be?
Well, first of all, it comes down to leadership. And, I've been the face of tragedy, in the face of storms, hurricanes, and probably the worst tragedy in the history of Rhode Island, the station fire, and helped work families through that. I've been there for Rhode Islanders throughout my career, and I'm proud of the work that I did with the state police, which I think is the greatest state police agency in the country. What they stand for in ethics and integrity. So it comes down to leadership, and then it comes down to trust. Can you trust your congressman? Can you trust your mayor? Or can you trust your governor? Trust is so important. So then when it comes down to the issues, it's just who will take a balanced and measured approach to every issue that comes before them. And I don't have all the answers. I can't fix Washington in January, but I'll tell you this, I'll be a strong voice, and I'm not impressed with what I see there, some of the attitudes and the status quo. I mean, there's people there just for a good time and a party. I'm not going there to make any friends. I'm going there to help Rhode Island.
And Colonel, now Congressman Cicilline, very decisive win over Anthony Gemma, recent Democrat primary. Anthony Gemma, people can question what type of campaign that he ran, but one thing that can't be questioned is that he certainly did bring up some questionable practices involving how people get a chance to vote. Congressman Cicilline, his actions in Providence. What did you take away from the Gemma-Cicilline race? Like, what stood out in your mind?
Well, I think there were some sidebar issues that distracted the campaign on both sides. And, there's the criminal complaint that Anthony filed, and I think that's in the appropriate place in the hands of the FBI and the state police. That's according to Anthony. He has filed a complaint there. So I assume that's correct. So I won't be talking about those issues. I'll be talking about David Cicilline's failed leadership in Washington and the fact that he hasn't been able to get anything done. Now, he blames the radical Republican side for that, but if that's the case, then he just should forfeit the seat to me now. So, because I'm someone who can work across party lines, I can work with the Republicans and Democrats. So, at that race, I'd be if that was me, I wouldn't be too happy with the voter turnout because not a lot of people came out. So, wasn't a lot of excitement there.
Right now in Pawtucket, they're going through. They've had a one vote election decision in the San Bento race, and there's questions on who voted and votes not counting. I mean, one thing without question the Gemma situation raised is there's definitely some questionable practices. And when you come back to trust, that's something that people should feel their vote is going to count and that they should trust the system. Do you think that? I mean, I see that as something that needs to be restored. People trusting the people in authority and trusting the system.
That's the most important part of our political process is trust. So, I know there are people out there that may only vote for a Democrat because he's a Democrat. I could be running against Bernie Madoff if he was a Democrat. That'd still be a tough race. But look, I have a tremendous amount of support from Democrats who do not believe in David Cicilline, and a great amount of unaffiliated with independents, with really unaffiliated voters, and obviously a strong support of the Republican Party. So, look, this is about bringing Rhode Island forward and about bringing America forward. And I just ask the voters to consider voting for the person this time, not their party. Do you want to vote for your party? Or do you want to vote for your country this time?
At 9:43, Brendan Doherty's in studio. Colonel, you have some debates coming up with Congressman Cicilline. During those debates, what do you think are going to be or is going to be highlighted when people are watching or listening to them? They're going to have two very different candidates, either on television or coming through the radio. What do you anticipate are going to be the biggest differences between yourself and Congressman Cicilline?
Well, I think people recognize the fact that I'm not a career politician. David is. I'm running as a citizen representative. I want to help bring change and help effectuate change in Washington. And I spent my entire career helping Rhode Islanders and keeping them safe. And that's something that I want to do in Washington, particularly from a national level when we have so many countries out there that don't like the United States too much. So I think securing the United States borders is very important to me. And because there's people in the Middle East that don't like the United States too much, and we need to make sure that this country never lets its guard down again. So that's something I want to be part of in Washington, in Homeland Security. But with David, he is what he is. He's failed to tell the truth on a few occasions, and it actually goes way back. I recall when he was a criminal defense attorney representing mobsters and career criminals, and then became mayor of Providence, and he's misled the voters in 2010. Frankly, he robbed John Laughlin of being a congressman.
Yes,
because if he didn't say that the city was in excellent financial condition, and told the truth, or at least explained it, that no, the city's in tough shape, this is why, A, B, C, D, and was forthright, then maybe people would have understood that. But he didn't. He misled them and locked out the auditors, and that's very clear what he did. He didn't want people to know what the situation was with the city of Providence, and voters need to remember that.
He just says he was overly optimistic.
Well, he said he's a kind of half glass full type of guy, but there must have been a hole in the glass.
Now, you mentioned foreign policy. Our ambassador in Libya was killed. President Obama says that our foreign policy, it's a mere bump in the road, even though our ambassador in Libya was basically assassinated. It looks more and more it was a planned attack. What is your thought on that?
Yeah, obviously a horrible situation and an attack on American values. And foreign affairs is an interest of mine. I've spent time in studying counterterrorism in Israel. I was in Israel with the Israeli military members. Was able to get briefings on what their concerns are and the issues that they have to deal with on a daily basis. So I understand that, and it's important that America stay strong. We need to keep America strong and think about America first in everything we do. I think that we also need to stand shoulder to shoulder with Benjamin Netanyahu and let the people of the state of Israel understand that we support them 100%. This is, this Ahmadinejad is not an irresponsible actor, has not been a responsible actor on the world stage, and I think that we need to keep a close eye on their activities.
On primary night, Congressman Cicilline made a comment, something along the lines of, this isn't about David Cicilline versus Brendan Doherty. This is about a Democrat versus a Republican. What do you think of that statement?
Well, that's the only way he thinks he can win, because if you look at the numbers, there are more registered Democrats than there are Republicans. So he hopes that we could just put two mannequins up and people will just go and vote for whatever their party was, whatever their grandfather was or their grandmother. But I think that the voters are smarter than that today. I think they'll vote for me as the person that I am, and knowing that I will do everything I can to help Rhode Island and bring Rhode Island forward. And I'm not a divisive person. I've been able to sit at the table in meetings throughout my career with people that I may not be in agreement with, but we were able to come up with the final conclusion that brought whatever that agency was, or whatever case that was, or whatever tragedy that was. We were able to come up with a positive solution. So that's what I'm all about. David, he's so far to the left, he cannot come over to work with people. Just think of that progressive budget. He couldn't even bring his own Democrats to vote for it.
I want to go back for something you just said. Now, you said when he was a criminal defense attorney and represented mobsters, did you actually ever have a case where he was repping the defendant and it was someone that had come under your jurisdiction?
Well, I can only...
His father's separate from that, but...
Yeah, I can only think of a few offhand, but there were a few cases where the defendant wasn't a mobster, but drug dealers, and he once defended a person that later sued me. So we go back a long way.
So this is not the first go-round between Doherty and Cicilline. What do you make of also the president's comment this past summer of, if you're out there and you think you started a successful business, you didn't build that. We built the road. Government does that. You didn't build that. That whole attitude that also Congressman Cicilline seems to emulate, which is when he talks about jobs, he talks about the government adding jobs. He doesn't talk about let's help a company in Lincoln build or add jobs. They seem to feel that it's the government's responsibility to employ people.
Yeah, that's really too bad that he has that outlook with the business community, because look at it's a private sector that grows jobs. We need more businesses. We need our existing businesses to grow. We need to roll a red carpet out for our existing businesses to grow jobs. We have the second highest unemployment rate in the country here. So wouldn't it be nice if we could give our neighbors and our friends and our relatives who are on the unemployment rolls, give them the dignity to have a job instead of being overtaxed? That's part of his progressive budget, is to increase taxes on businesses and individuals. You
spoke out against tolls. Talk a little bit about that. A lot of people, you get a lot of support. We get a lot of phone calls from people, supporters, glad somebody was speaking up about tolls.
Well, I think we just need to change the formula of the trust fund, highway trust fund. We're in a paradigm paralysis as to how we do business here in this country. We need to be able to repair our bridges when they're falling down, rather than just build a new one and toll that road. Now, in this kind of bridge, more than any other recommended toll location that I've ever seen, it's just the wrong place for it. This is I know that area very well, because I have a lot of friends on the East Bay, and I once worked as an adjunct at Roger Williams University and the director of public safety there. And that's a bridge that connects neighborhoods from Common Fence Point over to Tiverton. So you have people that are back and forth over that bridge all day long. I don't know if unless they plan on exempting people from Tiverton, Bristol, Portsmouth. That's not going to happen. It's just the wrong place for it. That's a bridge in the middle of a neighborhood. It's like putting a toll on Blackstone Boulevard and shutting off all the access roads.
Our guest in studio, Colonel Brendan Doherty, challenging Congressman David Cicilline for Congress. Colonel, I just received an email from Ted and Mary. They are retired. They live in East Providence. They are independent, undecided voters. John, we are seniors. We are very dependent on our fixed income. We have unsure who to vote for. The Colonel sounds very promising. Can you ask him, would he protect seniors? Colonel?
Well, sure. I had a press conference yesterday in Pawtucket that talked about my position on Social Security and Medicare. We need to preserve Social Security and Medicare, and our seniors who are about to go on should be safe. Our seniors who are on or collecting Social Security obviously are safe. They shouldn't even have to worry about this political rhetoric. I've embraced what I call what's known as the Simpson-Bowles Report Commission, And it talks about strengthening Social Security. And I think I mentioned it earlier that when someone's on for collecting that benefit for 20 years, like my mom, who's 85 years old, they actually get an additional bump because of the way it corrects itself from down the road. So our seniors shouldn't even have to worry about this. This shouldn't even be this shouldn't even be an issue in this year's election, because in 1983, when I said that Reagan and Tip O'Neill strengthened Social Security, we can do that right now. It's not as difficult as people think. Raising the wage cap and making the benefits more progressive. So our seniors need to know that I'll fight every day in Washington to keep them safe. And two things that are near and dear to my heart is our seniors and our children. And I'll fight for our children. And I had so many programs when I was a colonel of the state police to help kids, and also had programs to help seniors with some of the scam artists out there, because there's plenty of them that prey on seniors. So that's where I focused a lot of my attention during my career, and I'll continue to.
Congressman Cicilline, let's face it, your opponent is an automatic stamp for the Democrats. If anything, the ultra-liberal, left-leaning stamp for the Democrats. Would Brendan Doherty be an automatic vote stamp for the Republican Party?
No, I wouldn't. I've already said over and over again that I would not always be in lockstep with my own party, because I'm a lot like Scott Brown, my friend in Massachusetts. I'll look at every individual bill and take a measured approach to it and vote in the best interest of the 1st District and the people of the state of Rhode Island and this country. There's a lot of issues out there that we'll be facing, and including, like we just talked about, foreign affairs and taxation issues here, and keeping our borders secure. I want to make sure that America is safe and moving forward in a strong economic fashion.
At 9:57, we're speaking with Brendan Doherty. Where do you see the race right now? Do you see this? Is it in the final stages? Is it just starting? What do you think it is? Some of the undecided voters. What do you think is going to decide this race, Colonel?
Well, first of all, I'll talk about it in football terms. I think we're in the fourth quarter, and about halfway through the fourth quarter, and I feel good about the way the team has come together. I put a great team together on the ground, and my management team, Ian Pryor and Dave Lehman and Rob Coop and great advisors we have, Vicky Almeida's the chair, and just going forward, it's media buy and myself on the road every day. I've got to mention my wife Michelle. She's been such a sport and a supporter. She's been awesome. We go out on weekends, and she's out from 7 o'clock in the morning till 9, 10 o'clock with me. And I talk a lot about family values. Family values are very important to me. I have 2 children, and there was a time when my wife and I were not doing well financially, and we knew what it was like to struggle to raise a family. And these are the people that I think of when I'm traveling through the 1st District. Well, getting back to your question, the independent voter is very, very important to me, and they need to know that I'm an independent thinker, and I'm fiscally conservative. I'm running as a Republican. I'm fiscally conservative, and I'm proud of that. And I can tell you a story about a way that I saved the state of Rhode Island about $30 million.
We're going to save that for another time. Unfortunately, we're up against the clock. How can people get involved with the Doherty campaign?
Well, they can go online at www.dohertyforcongress.com, or they can drop by at 225 Newman Avenue in East Providence, where our headquarters is. And we also have a satellite office in Woonsocket, run by Ronnie and Mayor Baldelli out there, and Democrats for Doherty in Woonsocket. And it's just, I really hope that people get it this time, that David Cicilline has failed them in the past, and where the wicked web we weave when we first set out